Hey guys, it's Mr. Fancy here, and it's time for the January wrap-up. I'm very excited about this. So basically, being that this is my first wrap-up, which, yes, it is, I just thought I would quickly explain. So basically, a wrap-up is where you discuss the books that you have read that month. Today is the 31st of January, and technically I do still have tonight to read, and I will be reading tonight, but I just kind of want to do this video now. I've been basically wanting to talk to you guys about the books I'm reading since I last left you guys, because things have really changed for me. But anyway, let's talk about the books that I have been reading this month, because two of them are not done yet. One of them is done. So let's get into discussing, first of all, the two books that I have not yet finished and most likely won't be finished by the end of the month. But then again, check out my reading vlog for next week, because I suppose this counts as the reading vlog for this week. Anyway, check out my reading vlog for next week to see if I did end up technically finishing it tonight by the end of the month. But we'll see how we go. Anyway, first book, Personal Demons. Now, this is the book I'm going to be reading tonight. I am really not even halfway. I'm up to chapter 11, but that's because, yeah, I'm reading this for a book club. I've spoken about this before, and there are limitations with this book club, and I honestly don't mind that. I was talking about it in my reading vlog last week, how I have issues with the fact that the book club is rather limiting in the amount that you can read, but then genius idea comes to me, hey, Mr. Fancy, why not read other books at the same time? So now I'm totally fine with it being a slow-paced read. I'm totally fine with that because I'm reading other books at the same time. So it's not like I'm reading 5 chapters of this book and then having nothing else to read for the rest of the month. So I need to have read up to chapter 15 by Sunday night when I do my book club, and I haven't read any of this book this week, but I will be reading it tonight, so I will, by the end of the night, be up to chapter 15, because my reading speed has absolutely increased thanks to January. And since we're talking about January's wrap-up, let's quickly talk about that. But anyway, let's just quickly put Personal Demons down. I'm close to halfway. So there's 23 chapters. I'm up to chapter 11. I'm close to halfway with this one, but I didn't really have any wiggle room to finish it by the end of the month, owing to the preset rules of that book club, which, as I said, I'm totally fine with. So I came into the second week of February with this goal to read 12 books by the end of the year, and when I started reading with Personal Demons, and I was reading it really slowly, and it was kind of upsetting me a little bit because I used to read really quickly when I read a lot. I guess the lesson that I took from this is that when you don't read for such a long period of time and then you get back into reading, you start off reading rather slowly. But anyway, I'm now reading much quicker than I was, and I find that on average, I'm roughly reading about 50 pages in an hour. So that's really good, and that's why I know for a fact that I'll be up to chapter 15 or 16. Should be up to 16, sorry. I'll be up to 16 by the end of the night with that one. So let's talk about this book, because it is the wrap-up. So let's talk about this book so far. Look, so far, if I were to give it a star rating and not read any more, just up to chapter 11, I would probably give this a 1.5 out of 5, because it is based around heavy humanlandia. So for those of you who are watching a video of mine for the first time, basically humanlandia is a subgenre that I just created myself, and humanlandia is exactly what it sounds like. It is when a book has any kind of setting around everyday human life living. So this book, while it looks like it could be a fantasy book, it is a heavy humanlandia book with some fantastical elements sprinkled in and around the book here and there. 1.5 stars for the sake of one character that I love. I won't spoil anything other than to say the name of the character. The name of the character is Luke. I love Luke in this book. This is a dual perspective book in that we have two perspectives. One is the perspective of Luke and one is the perspective of Franny. And the perspective of Franny is very much humanlandia. The perspective of Luke is part humanlandia, part fantastical elements. So that's why I prefer Luke's side of it. But for where I'm at the halfway mark, 1.5 out of 5 stars because it is extremely heavy humanlandia, and that's not what I'm about. I much prefer to read a book that is entirely fantasy from the get-go. And once I finally get to a book that is fantasy from page 1 all the way through to the last page of the book, it will probably get 5 stars because it's heavy fantasy, which is what I'm after at the moment. Okay, on to the next book that I am reading this month, and you know what, guys? If you had asked me this on day 1 when I started doing my reading booktube vlogs for this channel, I would have told you that I am a self-proclaimed hater is a really strong word, so I'm not going to say that, but I'll say disliker if you're American, but I'm Australian, so we say disliker. Disliker of audiobooks. No, just not a fan. Yeah. No, they just don't work for me. But anyway, with the heat wave we've been having, I've been having a lot of trouble sleeping. Now I know, probably TMI, you don't want to know about that, but it does lead into what I am going to discuss with you guys. Because I've had a lot of trouble sleeping, I last night decided, you know what, since I'm not falling asleep anytime soon, I might as well just listen to an audiobook. I would love to just keep reading a physical book, but I don't exactly want to sit up. Like, hopefully an audiobook will help me fall asleep. So I started going through these audiobooks on YouTube because I don't really want to pay money for an audiobook, especially considering that I don't really like audiobooks. I love the authenticity of picking up an actual book, holding it physically in your hands and reading the actual physical book. I love that. And I felt anyway, that an audiobook or even an ebook really takes away from the experience because you are reading something on a tablet or hearing something on some device that's not the actual book that you're holding in your hands and reading for yourself. Anyway, so because I couldn't read, and by the way, it's incredibly hot, so if I am wiping myself, I do apologize. It is like 47 degrees in here. If you saw my February TBR, you know all about that. It is incredibly hot, 47 degrees Celsius in this room. Yeah, so I apologize. Anyway, so I was looking through the audiobooks and I was just, having a look at some of them and thinking, okay, this doesn't sound too bad. This one sounds all right. Let's try this one. I came across the Gentleman series, gosh, I don't even know what it's called. But anyway, I think it's called the excuse my language, because I think this is just what it's called. I think it's called the Gentleman Bastard series or the Bastard Gentleman series, something like that. Anyway, it had really good reviews from some booktubers that I absolutely love. And so I thought, yeah, I'll try this. Honestly, I lasted 5 minutes, you guys, before I wanted to like rip my hair out because I just did not like it at all. And I know that I did not give it enough of a chance because 5 minutes of an audiobook probably pertains to about 3-4 pages of an actual book. And yeah, but I don't know, I just had a really bad feeling about it, and so I stopped listening to that one. But then, eventually, I started listening to The Kiss of Deception. This is a piece of paper and clearly not a book, but I wanted to have a visual to hold up for you guys. The Kiss of Deception. Now, this is from the Remnant Chronicles series, and it is by Mary E. Pearson. Okay, The Kiss of Deception. And so basically I was watching one of my favorite booktubers and she was talking about, and one day I'm going to introduce you to her, but for the moment she'll remain anonymous. She was talking about book series that she wanted to reread, and when she came across this one, as a possibility, because she was creating a poll for her subscribers to determine which one she was going to read. When she came up to this one, the reaction that she had just by picking up these books, I was like, oh my god, okay, I gotta try this. Anything that makes any book that makes anyone feel or react feel that good and react that way, I have to try this. So I came across it on YouTube as an audiobook, and I thought, you know what, I'll try it. And I'm probably about halfway with this one, if not over halfway, because the only way I ultimately ended up falling asleep last night, or in the wee hours of this morning, was literally by getting out of YouTube, locking my phone, and getting away from the book because it was so exciting. Now, I will say this, as I said, I'm not a fan of audiobooks. I'm not. But I do feel that had I picked up this book and started reading it as a physical book, that I probably would not have liked it. Listening to it as an audiobook, I do like it. And so I think what I'm starting to understand is there are books that you can physically read that you're going to love, and then there are books that you can physically read that you don't love, but if you hear it as an audiobook, you probably might love it. So, and that's the case for me with this one, Kiss of Deception. So a basic discussion, spoiler-free, about this one. This is I don't want to use the word medieval because I really don't like medieval, but I feel that there are medieval elements within this book. But you know what? Considering what I read in January, that's actually okay, because it's higher fantasy than anything else that I read this month. So for that, I appreciate it. It is a book about a princess and a prince, and I really don't want to give you any spoilers, but oh gosh, I mean, you find this out really in the first 2 pages, so I might as well just tell you this much. The princess and the prince are basically arranged to be married. Yeah, come on, English, Francois. They're arranged to be, there is an arrangement for them to be married. I told you I don't edit these things. Because the courts of their kingdom are not doing so well on their own, but if they come together, then they will be a powerhouse. And so basically the parents of the main character and the parents of the main character, who is a princess, and the parents of the prince of the other castle arranged that these two are just going to get married sight unseen. I have not seen the TV show Married at First Sight, but basically that's what they're trying to get these characters to do. But however, something happens before the wedding, and in that moment, I knew I was going to love this book. What I can say, very headstrong, intelligent woman. Oh my gosh, this main character. And I'm all about the intelligent women. I've spoken before about how my 2 favorite characters when it comes to literature would be Hermione Granger and Spencer Hastings, because of just how very extremely intelligent they are. This female protagonist is extremely intelligent, and she's very headstrong as well, just like with Hermione Granger and just like with Spencer Hastings. So I absolutely loved that. Not feeling too many fantastical elements as far as magic being used, although I do feel that magic may come up at some point, because there have been some hints here or there that it might happen at some point, so we'll see. I'm holding out for that, but it definitely is a whole new world, and we have this world building going on at the moment, which is just really amazing to learn about her court, about the court of the prince, about the land that they're on, and different things going on there. So I do absolutely love this, and I started last night and I'm halfway through. So, I mean, that really does say a lot right there. So there we go. The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson. It is from the Remnant Chronicles series, and I am loving this one. And from what I have heard so far of the audiobook, as I say, I'm halfway through, my rating for this one will probably be about a 3 or a 4 star. I do feel that there are some improvements that could be made, but I do also have this potential that if the book goes where I think it's going to go, then it will probably end up being a 5-star book for me, which is saying a lot. So let's put that one down and grab the next one. Okay, lesson 446, Mr. Francie, do not film anything when it's 47 degrees in the room because you'll be sweltering the whole video. Okay, and last but not least, we have The Replacement by Brenna Yovanov. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Mr. Francie has, for the first time in 3 years, read an entire book, and I'm so excited. Yay! I finished this book last night, and I knew that I would finish it last night because I came into reading this with, when I came into reading this last night, I had 50 pages to go, so I knew I would finish it. Even if it took me 3 hours to get through the 50 pages, I knew I was going to end it last night, and I have. Yay! So for my goal for 2020, my goal at the moment anyway, is to read 12 books, which I think I'm going to up the ante on that, but On Goodreads, if you go to my profile, you will see that I have one of those 12 books read. Yee! So happy. Oh, if I edited my videos, I would have a stamp going with the word complete. Completed. Woo! So, spoiler-free discussion about this book. Okay, rating first. Okay, so here's the deal. My true rating for this book is 1.5 stars out of 5, and I will explain why in just a moment. But before I do that, you cannot give a 0.5 rating on Goodreads, and I know that this frustrates a lot of readers, and I am absolutely one of them. What I ended up doing on Goodreads was I rounded up rather than rounding down. So because I wanted it to be a 1.5 star rating, I gave it 2 stars. But my official rating for this is actually 1.5, and I will explain why. This book is heavy human-landia. Now, we spoke earlier about, I'm going to be dropping things in a minute, about personal demons and how this book is heavy human-landia. This book is so much more heavy human-landia. Now, I don't want to give away too much of the book because that is not the point of a wrap-up. It's just to give you a brief idea of whether or not you think this will be the kind of book that you would want to read. For me personally, I feel that you could cut out the first 100 pages and start reading this book from page 101. I feel if I had done that, I would have had a much more enjoyable experience because the author spends the first 100 pages laying the foundation. And I'm not a fan of that personally. You may love that if you love books that take an extremely long time to get somewhere because, and it's fine, that's my view and that's how I view it. They're taking a long time to get somewhere, but you may view it as, no, they're just taking their time so you can, get to know more about the characters and, where they're living and the culture and all that kind of stuff. And if you like that, great, you're going to love the first 100 pages. If you're going into this book like me, wanting a fantastical book with fantastical elements, my advice, and I did not think I would say this, but once I finished reading this book, I knew that I had to say it. My advice, start from page 101. The first 100 pages, does it make sense that it's been included? Yes, but is it critical for you to know? No. I feel like if you go from page 101, you're going from a place of dealing with this human, dealing with a human, and then you get to the fantastical elements. So that's just my perspective. If you've read this book, please comment below and let me know what you think. If you think you should start at page 1, or if you think, like me, you should cut out the first 100 pages and just start at page 101. So what do you guys think? Let me know. So basically with this book, again, without giving away too many spoilers, once we get through the whole first 100 pages, which if you've seen my review from last time, you will know I had strong views on that. From the second third of the book onwards, it does get a lot better. I don't know if you call it the arc, like the ebbs and flows of the book. I mean, I'm still trying to learn the terminology, guys, so have some patience with me, please. But the ebb and flow of the book is okay from page 101 onwards. So this is about a 375. It is exactly 375 pages, sorry. So yeah, from page 101, it dips in and out of fantasy from page 1 to 100. There's like no fantasy at all. The climax is good, yes. Is it worth the 100-page slog? In my opinion, the first 100 pages slog, in my opinion, no. I don't feel that I needed to know anything from the first 100 pages in order to be able to appreciate everything that came after the first 100 pages at all. So yeah, that's just me. Is the climax amazing? No. It's not. It was a little bit of a letdown, but not a lot. Like, I can't say I'm extremely disappointed with the climax because I'm not. I think the climax scene is by far and away the best scene of this entire book. Absolutely. And I would love to go a step further than saying cut out the first 100 pages and say just go right to the climax and enjoy that little scene, because that's really, it is well done. It's not amazing, but it is really good. So You know, if I were to rate the Climax out of 10, I'd probably give it a 5 or a 6. So it was good, yeah. It wasn't a disappointment, it wasn't a letdown. The characters in this book, 80 to 85% of the characters are human, and then we have about, what would that make it, 15 to 20% of them that are fantastical characters, and the fantastical characters I absolutely love. There is a diversity between the two main fantastical characters, which I think played out extremely well, and I love that we got to spend time and again, this isn't really giving away too much information, but we got to spend time with one of them on their own, then we got to spend time with the other on their own, then we got to spend time with both of them together, and I loved the diversity between them, and I loved how all of that worked in the book. That was really well done. Descriptions and descriptive-wise, Brenna, I keep going to say Brenda, but her name is Brenna. Brenna Yovanov is amazing at descriptions. Not too long, not too short, just right, just like Baby Bear's bowl of porridge. Just right. So I really do appreciate her descriptions. I think they're done really well, and you do feel like you are sitting, standing, or walking there, or traveling there, right next to the main character when it comes to Brenna Yovanov explaining anything to do with senses, smelling, seeing, hearing. She does it so well. I feel like I've been sucked into the book and I'm literally walking alongside the protagonist, experiencing things as he is experiencing them. So that is good. There is a twist that comes up, about halfway through the book, that if you haven't read the blurb, and if you're like me and you don't want to be second guessing everything, because apparently there's this thing out there that there are certain authors who like to leave it up to the reader, and I don't personally like that. I much rather you give me too much information, but at least I have it all, then give me half of the information and I have to work out the other half for myself. I don't like that if it's not a mystery. Again, and I've said this before, with something like Pretty Little Liars or a detective book, but yeah, Pretty Little Liars, where you're trying to work out who A is and all that kind of stuff. Yes, I love it because you're set up with this is a mystery, and you actively know that you, as well as the main characters, are trying to work out who A is. Yes, so I love that. But this is not a mystery book. This is a fantasy book. And so basically Brenna Yovanov spends the first 100 or so pages planting clues. I did not know this until I finished the book and then watched a review of someone else reviewing this book, so that's how unclear it was to me. She left clues along the way for you to know more about the protagonist, because there's more to the protagonist than meets the eye. But I didn't know any of it. I didn't assume any of it until it was spelled out for me after the first 100 pages. So for me, I don't like that kind of thing. But if you do, if you like to be a reader who is left to determine your own idea of what's going on, then you might love the first 100 pages, but that is just me. That's just my thought. The ending of this book is incredible. It is such a twist. I don't necessarily want to say it's a plot twist, but what I will say, without giving away any spoilers, is that there is a reveal, or two reveals actually. There are two reveals that happen in the last chapter, or either last or second to last chapter, one of them, right at the end of the book anyway, that I did not expect at all, but it makes so much sense and it made the reveal so much more satisfying. So I loved that. And if I were advising Brenna Yovanov of things, I would say, okay, cut out the first 100 pages. Now, you know what you did in the last two? Use that. Start with that kind of a feel in your next book and don't go as slowly as you do. But that's just my opinion, okay? You guys may absolutely love that, but my opinion, no. So all in all, that is why I'm giving this book 1.5 stars out of 5, because it's not a book that I love. It's not a book that I think I would reread again unless I adopted my own little piece of advice that I've given you guys, which is to start from page 101 onwards. Because the first 100 pages was an absolute slog for me, and I feel like the rating needs to take a hit for that. For me, it just wasn't a pleasurable experience reading the first 100 pages. But from 101 on to 375, it was a good read and it got better as you went along. So 1.5 out of 5, but if you check out my Goodreads rating, you will see 2 stars because you can't give 1.5, but my official rating, 1.5. So, to summarize, I am reading Personal Demons. I am going to be over halfway by the end of the night, so by the end of the month. I am halfway through the audiobook of The Kiss of Deception, and I will probably have that finished either tonight or tomorrow, so we'll see how we go with that one. The Replacement completed, 1.5 stars out of 5. If you would like to discuss any of these books with me, then please do let me know in the comments below. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Peace, blessings, and so much love. And I will be back with an extensive spoiler review of The Replacement very soon. So you can look out for that in my playlist under The Replacement. Until then, once again, peace, blessings, and so much love. Happy reading, and I'll talk to you soon. Mwah. Bye.